My wife told me, I'm going to stay with my ex for 30 days to help him heal, and my daughter sides with her. So I cut them off both, filed for divorce, and watched them both spiral. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey everyone, what's up? So this one's been eating at me for a while. Not really the type to post my life online, but I figured this mess might help somebody else, or at least give someone a reason to double-check the energy in their house. Because I swear I missed 100 signs before it got to this. So Angela, 40 female, and I, 42 male, have been married for 21 years. We met at a mutual friend's cookout. She had this fire in her. Sarcastic, smart, could shut down a room with one comment. I like that. Still do, when it's not aimed at me. We were both broke, figuring life out. Got married young, had Madison, 19 female, a year later, and built everything from scratch. We didn't have a picture-perfect life, but it was steady. I worked long hours. She took care of the house, went back to school part-time, then worked as a wellness coach from home. Over the years, we grew in different directions. Me more practical, her more aligned with her higher self, as she puts it now. Things started shifting a few years back. Less we, more 'em. Her tone changed, her patience shortened, and suddenly everything I said sounded like criticism to her. And Madison? She took Angela's side in everything, like she was her personal hype team. Anyway, this happened about 6 months ago. I was sitting in the kitchen, eating leftovers after work. My wife Angela was just pacing around doing that thing she does when she's building up to something she knows I'm not going to like. She finally sits down across from me and says, calm as can be, so, Noah asked me to come stay with him for a bit, just to help him out. He's been having a rough time. Now Noah is her ex, not an ex-husband or anything official, just an old boyfriend from her early 20s. One of those flings she swore was ancient history. I only ever heard his name in passing, usually with a laugh and a, what a mess that was. I said nothing at first, just looked at her, fork halfway to my mouth. My brain honestly couldn't catch up with what she had just said. She keeps going like she's ordering from a takeout menu. It's just for 30 days. His wife passed away, and he hasn't really been doing well. I guess he's just been in a bad place, and I feel like maybe I owe it to him, you know? Like, to help him get some closure. I slowly set my plate down and leaned forward. Wait, so you're going to move in with your ex-boyfriend for a month, while you're married to me? Angela tilts her head and gives me that face like I'm the one jumping to conclusions. It's not like that. I'm not going there to hook up or anything. I just want to support him. He's grieving. I blinked. Right, because grief is best treated with matching coffee mugs and morning routines? She crossed her arms. Don't be a jerk about it. He lost someone. Yeah, and I'm about to, I said. Why are you even still talking to him? When did this become normal again? We've been talking for a while. Just occasionally. You're acting like I kept it a secret. You didn't mention a single conversation until just now, when you're announcing your move-in date. Before she could answer, Madison waltzes in from the hallway. Perfect timing, of course. She didn't hear everything, but that never stopped her before. She's not your property, Dad, Madison snapped. You don't get to dictate who she talks to or where she stays. She's allowed to help someone without it being your business. Excuse me? I said. I'm sorry. Did I suddenly become your ex-stepdad and not your actual father? Madison huffed, flipping her hair like she was preparing a TED Talk. You always make everything about you. This isn't about you. It's about Mom doing something meaningful for someone who needs it. Madison, she's talking about living with her ex for 30 days. Angela cut in. It's not like I'm sharing a bed with him. You're sharing a house. Madison shrugged. So? You act like she's going on a honeymoon. I act like I'm being replaced while still footing the bills. Angela raised her voice slightly. This is exactly why I didn't bring it up sooner. Because I knew you'd overreact and make it ugly. No, Angela. You didn't bring it up because you knew it sounded insane and figured if you just announced it casually enough, I'd roll over and accept it. Madison rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. You're being ridiculous. You think the world revolves around your opinion. She's doing something selfless and you're throwing a tantrum because it doesn't involve you. I turned to both of them. Do either of you even hear yourselves? You're defending Mom moving in with her ex and I'm the unreasonable one? Angela snapped. You're twisting this. No, I'm repeating it. Word for word. You said you're staying with Noah for 30 days to help him through a hard time. What exactly do you think that looks like? We'll have boundaries. she said, arms folded. Yeah, like a hotel and a phone call would have had. Instead, you're packing a bag and disappearing into someone else's kitchen. She just stood there, not saying anything. Then Madison added with full attitude, You act like she's abandoning you. She's literally being a good person. But of course, your ego can't handle that. I looked at them both and said, flat out, she literally is abandoning me. I'm her husband. We live in the same house, and she's choosing to stay somewhere else, with a man she used to date. How else do you want me to label that? They both sat there, calm as ever, like they were the reasonable ones. Like I was the problem for thinking any of this was off. So I didn't yell, didn't argue. I stood up, walked to the kitchen counter, pulled out my laptop, and sat back down at the table. Angela watched me like I was about to Google my emotions. Instead, I opened my email and started typing. Subject line: Separation clarification. I kept it simple. One paragraph. Per our conversation today, you've chosen to live away from our shared home for the next 30 days. During this period, all shared financial responsibilities, accounts, utilities, and expenses will be managed separately. This includes gas, groceries, streaming, subscriptions, gym memberships, and Madison's school-related costs. Please confirm for my records. No emotion. No exclamation points. Just the facts. Then I sent it to her. I double-C'd myself. Sat there and waited. Angela gave me a dry laugh. Seriously? An email? I replied, You want to play adult games? You get adult paperwork. I'm not supporting two households. You made your choice. I'm just putting it in writing. She pulled out her phone, stared at it for a second, and typed, There. Happy now? A second later, my inbox pinged. One-word reply, confirmed. Madison, still standing there like she was on set for a motivational reel, actually clapped. Good for you, Mom. Boundaries. I turned to her. Cool. Then your school card's frozen starting tomorrow. Boundaries all around. She stopped clapping real fast. Angela just gave me a smug shrug. Fine. I'll be back before you even miss me. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Oh, I won't be missing anyone. And I meant it. The next morning, she packed a weekender bag and left like she was going on a yoga retreat. Madison made a show of helping her carry her stuff to the car. Not one tear. No hesitation. No hesitation from either of them, actually. That stung more than I expected. It was like I was just the guy who paid the bills and fixed stuff when it broke. They didn't even look back when they pulled out of the driveway. Just gone. Like I was the one who owed them something. I stood there for a few minutes after they left. The silence in the house was unreal. I remember walking back into the kitchen and seeing her plate from breakfast still in the sink. Then I looked over at Madison's room. Door open. Lights still on. Like they just dipped out of their responsibilities for a 30-day trial with no consequences. That's when I realized they thought I was the constant, the backup, the guy who'd still be standing in the exact same spot when they came waltzing back in with hugs and, we've grown so much energy. Nah. I gave it a day before doing anything big. I didn't want to act out of anger. I wanted to act out of clarity. And honestly, the first 24 hours were quiet. Too quiet. Like the house itself wasn't sure if it was allowed to breathe without their voices bouncing off the walls. I went to work like normal the next morning. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I just carried on like everything was business as usual. That was kind of the plan. Don't give anyone a reason to ask questions. Just handle my stuff in silence. But I wasn't just ignoring it, I was planning. Because let me tell you, when you live with people who take you for granted, and then they remove themselves from the equation thinking you'll be standing still, there's a very satisfying moment when you realize you don't have to. First thing I did when I got home was sit down with a notepad and start writing down every shared subscription, account, payment, and bill that came out of my pocket. It was longer than I thought. Music streaming, grocery delivery, Amazon Prime, that dumb astrology app Angela swore helped her stay grounded, gone. Every single thing with my name on it that made their lives easier got paused or deactivated. I didn't announce it. I didn't text them. I just did it. Then I checked the shared cloud account. Angela had been uploading photos of herself at Noah's place. Nothing scandalous, just selfies on his back porch, pictures of their golden retriever, some green smoothie stuff. But it rubbed me the wrong way. Not because I thought she was doing anything with him yet, but because she looked relaxed. Too relaxed. Meanwhile, I was here cleaning up their mess. So I took it a step further. I logged into our shared budgeting app, the one I set up because they never tracked anything, and removed them from the account. Then I downloaded all the past data and stored it on a hard drive, just in case things got messier later. They wanted 30 days. I was going to give them exactly that, but on my terms. On day 3, the notification started. Madison tried to buy food at her favorite overpriced salad spot and couldn't complete the payment. I know this because she sent me a screenshot of the declined transaction, followed by a message that said, "Is this you?" I didn't respond. Angela emailed me later that evening with, "Hey, I think something might be wrong with the cards. Let me know." I replied, "Everything's working fine on my end. I assume Noah has it covered." No response. A few hours later, I saw Madison post on social media. "Some people will show you who they really are when you stop doing what they want." All right, Socrates. I'm sure that salad was life-changing. The thing is, I wasn't being spiteful. I wasn't trying to punish them. I was just matching energy. You want to go live with your ex for a month to help him process his grief? Great. But don't expect me to keep the fridge full while you're playing support group in another man's house. I spent the rest of that week clearing out clutter, physical and digital. I boxed up some of Angela's stuff that she left behind, the little things she used daily: skincare, favorite mugs, a few throw blankets. Not out of malice, just efficiency. Labeled the boxes, stacked them in the garage, out of sight. Madison's room, untouched. Not because I was sentimental, I just didn't feel like dealing with it yet. But I did shut off the lights she left on and unplug the hair straightener still on the bathroom counter. Energy costs money. By the end of the week, the house felt different. Lighter, in a weird way. Like it was shedding them, too. And that's when I realized I'd been carrying all of it. Not just financially, emotionally, mentally. I was the go-to guy. The one who made sure everything ran smoothly. But it came at a price. I had turned myself into a walking support beam for two people who barely noticed the roof over their heads, let alone who held it up. Angela used to say I was too practical, that I didn't know how to just live in the moment. Funny thing is, I finally started doing that once she left. That weekend, I finally told someone what was going on. My sister Dana. She and I aren't super close, but she's solid. No nonsense. Lives about an hour away. We usually talk once a week or so, mostly to check in on mom or complain about work. This time, I called her on a Sunday morning. She picked up and said, "You never call this early." "What happened?" I said. "Angela moved in with her ex. For 30 days. There was a pause, then a long, drawn-out "what?" I gave her the short version. Angela's explanation, Madison's little speech, the whole closure pitch. Dana didn't interrupt much. Just let me talk. When I was done, she said, "And you're just letting this happen?" I'm not stopping her, but I'm not funding her either. There was a beat of silence. Then she said, "Good, don't." That was it. No fake outrage, no dramatic gasps. Just support. Calm, steady, and honest. She added, "If you need to crash here or anything, let me know. I've got space." I thanked her but told her I was good. The silence in my house wasn't the enemy. It was the first time I'd been able to think clearly in years. After we hung up, I felt better. Not because someone had picked my side, but because someone saw what was happening and didn't try to sugarcoat it. Dana didn't tell me to fix it. She told me to take care of myself. By the time day 7 rolled around, I had a routine. I was sleeping better, eating better, feeling lighter. The part that surprised me the most was how quickly the house adjusted. No extra shoes by the door. By the second week, things got real quiet. I don't mean peaceful quiet. I mean that kind of silence you get right before a storm, when everything's too still and your gut starts telling you something's brewing. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know which direction it would hit from. Turns out it was Madison who broke first. I was out in the garage cleaning up, reorganizing a shelf that had been leaning for way too long, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. First 2 calls from her, then a voicemail, then a text that just said, "We need to talk now." That's never good. Not from someone who told me I was financially manipulative 2 weeks earlier for turning off her Spotify account. I let it sit. Went inside, grabbed a drink, sat on the couch and waited. 5 minutes later, she called again. This time I answered. She didn't say hi, didn't ask how I was. Just jumped straight into, "Did you cancel my student portal access? My college account is locked." I said, "No. I canceled the card linked to it. If that's the one that pays for your extras, then yeah, you'll have to handle that." "You can't just cut me off like that," she snapped. "This is my education." Right. And I supported it. All of it. Tuition, books, rent, food. But you stood there while your mom told me she was going to live with her ex and you cheered her on like it was noble. "So you're grown, right? Handle it." There was this long pause on the other end. Then she hung up. That was the first crack. And it didn't take long for Angela to follow. The next morning, I got an email. The subject line was, "We should talk." No greeting, no apology. Just, "I feel like this has gone far enough. You've made your point. I think we need to sit down when I get back and figure out a reset. A reset. Like she hit a bad button on a microwave, not walked out on our marriage for a 30-day healing retreat with her ex. I didn't respond. I marked it unread, like I might come back to it. I didn't. The following day, my sister Dana called. I hadn't updated her since our first talk. She said, I saw Madison's post. Something about you abandoning her? I sighed. She lost access to her college gym. That's the crisis. Dana gave this dry laugh that I needed. You know, I used to think Angela had it together. But this whole thing, I don't know. It's like she threw away her brain when she married her morals to a man who already left her once. She was right. I didn't say it out loud, but she was right. This wasn't about grief. It was about control. Angela needed to feel important to someone, and Noah handed her the perfect excuse. It's wild how people will justify anything if they can package it in empathy. I spent the next few days digging deeper into our financial situation, moved some things around, took Madison's name off the backup credit card. Not out of spite, just clean accounting. I didn't want more texts about how she couldn't order her oat milk chai. Later that week, one of Madison's friends, someone who used to come over all the time, DM'd me. It was short. Hey, just want you to know, I think what they're doing to you is really messed up. Hope you're okay? That message hit harder than all of Madison's tantrums combined. Because someone who didn't owe me a thing could see it clearly. The people living under my roof, who ate the food I paid for and used the water I paid to heat, couldn't or wouldn't. Angela finally called on day 13. I let it go to voicemail. She didn't leave one. Instead, she sent another email later that night. I think we should discuss how this will affect Madison. She's really struggling. You've made your point with me. Can we try to be civil now? Civil. That's rich. The moment you pack your bags and go play caretaker for your ex, you give up the right to throw around civil like it's currency? I didn't reply to that either. Instead, I called my lawyer and asked about what it would look like to separate assets without filing anything official yet. Just prep work, just options. He walked me through some things I hadn't thought of. Stuff with the house, long-term accounts, even small insurance policies that had Madison listed as a secondary. We flagged everything. I wasn't trying to nuke the whole thing. I just didn't want to be the only one holding the detonator if it came to that. More, I ignored their messages. The louder they got because silence does something to people who are used to being responded to instantly. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about what me not answering meant for them. The phones kept ringing, but I'd already heard everything I needed to. On day 29, I made one call. I didn't text, didn't give her a warning, just called the courier I'd used before for work contracts and scheduled a delivery to Noah's place. The guy even asked, "Want to include a note?" I said yeah, and kept it simple. Inside the envelope were divorce papers. Straightforward, clean. Just the facts and a date. No dramatic language, no angry jabs. Just a quiet ending written in black and white. I did include a line on top, though. You chose distance. I chose clarity. Consider this your confirmation email. By noon, I got the delivery confirmation. 15 minutes later, my phone blew up. First came the missed calls, 4 in a row. Then the texts. What is this? You're being dramatic. This wasn't supposed to be permanent. Are you seriously filing for divorce over a 30-day favor? Angela really leaned into the victim tone. Madison followed up soon after with, "You're actually punishing her for helping someone?" And, "You're throwing away everything over ego." Classic. When people start losing their access to your peace, they call it selfishness. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I'd already said it loud and clear. 30 days of silence is a message all on its own. I turned my phone off at 6 and had the best night of sleep I'd had in years. The next day, they came back like nothing happened. I was in the living room watching the game when I heard the garage door open. Didn't pause the TV, didn't move. Angela walked in like she was returning from a weekend spa trip. Madison came in behind her dragging a suitcase and scrolling her phone, already asking what groceries we needed. Angela looked around and said, "Well, we're home," like I should have been thrilled. I didn't get up, just nodded and said, "I noticed." She waited for more, but I wasn't offering it. Madison walked right up to the dining table where I had my laptop and paperwork spread out and said, "Can you move your stuff? I need to set up." That's when I stood up. Calm, steady. I looked at both of them and said, "Yeah, that's not happening." Angela squinted at me like I just told her the sky was orange. "Excuse me? You don't just walk back in here like this is some sitcom reset," I said. "You made your choices. I made mine." Madison threw her bag down and crossed her arms. "This is still our home." I shook my head. "It was. Now, it's where I live. If you want in, you start at the door." Angela looked genuinely offended. We were gone only for a month. We didn't cheat on you. We didn't trash the place. I was helping someone who lost his wife. Why are you so dramatic? No, I said. You were helping your ex. You moved in with him. You cooked. You cleaned. You smiled in his photos like you were auditioning for round 2 of your old life. And you expected me to wait here with warm towels. She didn't answer. That silence said more than anything else. I grabbed the manila folder I'd prepared and handed it to her. Here's everything I took you off of. Subscriptions, autopays, accounts. It's a list of things you assumed I'd keep covering. She held it like it burned. Madison looked around like she finally noticed something had changed. So we don't even get to stay the night? You can sleep in the garage if you want, I said. That's where your mom's boxes are. Or you can go to your friends like you usually do. Angela's voice cracked. You sent me divorce papers. That's insane. No, I said. What's insane is leaving your husband to go play house with your ex, then getting mad when that husband stops waiting. Madison scoffed and grabbed her bag again. Wow, toxic. I smiled. Boundaries aren't toxic. You just don't like them when they're not yours. Angela softened her voice like that was going to undo the last month. So that's it? You're just giving up? I gave you 30 days. You used them. I'm using mine now. They stood there for another minute like they were still trying to solve the puzzle. But there was no puzzle. Just choices and consequences. Angela eventually turned and walked out. No hug, no apology. Madison followed, muttering something under her breath that I didn't bother catching. I just stood there and listened to the sound of the door closing. After they left, I walked around the house. Not because I was lost, but because I wanted to feel it. The silence. The space. The newness of it all. It felt bigger than before. Not physically, but emotionally. There was more room to breathe. More room to exist without being poked or pulled at. I walked past the kitchen, looked at the mug cabinet Angela always cluttered with her collection of Boss Babe coffee cups. It was half empty now. I liked it that way. I walked into the bedroom, lay on the bed, and stared at the ceiling fan. It wasn't spinning. The remote was on her side of the bed. I didn't reach for it. I closed my eyes and realized something wild. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was done. Court was quiet. No crowd, no gasps, no dramatic entrance music like Angela probably imagined in her head. Just a cold hallway, old carpet, and a couple of lawyers waiting with folders like it was any other Tuesday, which it was. Angela showed up looking polished but anxious. Hair curled, full face of makeup, wearing the necklace I bought her 2 Christmases ago, the one she said made her feel classic. Madison wasn't with her, which surprised no one. That was their pattern. Talk big at home, go silent in real life. She barely looked at me when she walked in, gave a tight-lipped nod, and sat on her side of the room, like we were strangers waiting for a dentist appointment. My lawyer leaned over and said, "She's nervous." I said, "She should be." Angela had filed a formal response to the divorce. Nothing special. A few vague statements about how things had been misinterpreted, and how she never intended for the separation to be permanent. It was the kind of legal fluff you write when you realize the ground is already crumbling under your feet. But it didn't matter. What mattered was what she'd put in writing, and what I had saved, backed up, and printed in triplicate. When the judge walked in, he didn't waste a second. "We're here today regarding preliminary hearings on marital asset division and temporary spousal support." He sounded like he'd rather be anywhere else, and honestly, I respected that. I wasn't looking for anyone to gasp or take sides. I just wanted peace and paperwork. Angela's lawyer stood up first and gave the performance I expected. "Your Honor, the 30-day period in question was not an abandonment. It was a temporary and compassionate gesture, an act of support for someone in emotional distress. Our client was responding to the grief of a longtime friend, not walking away from her marriage. Grieving someone else's grief. That was the actual phrase he used. Like she was Mother Teresa, and not a woman who packed a bag to go live with her ex-boyfriend while still wearing her wedding ring. I kept a straight face. Then my lawyer stood up and slid a folder across the judge's bench. Calm, quiet, confident. Inside? 1. The email Angela received from me the night she announced she was leaving. The one outlining her 30-day voluntary separation, detailing that she would be financially independent, with all joint household expenses paused. 2. Her one-word reply. Confirmed. Time-stamped. Clean. 3. A stack of screenshots from our shared cloud account. Photos of her cooking dinner at Noah's house. Sitting with him on the porch swing. A selfie captioned, "Good energy and healing company." Not scandalous, but intimate enough to destroy the whole temporary empathy narrative. 4. A breakdown of account closures, password changes, and digital separations. All documented and time-stamped the night she left. No emotion, just receipts. The judge read in silence. He didn't ask a single question, just flipped through the pages like he'd seen this movie before. Angela looked down at her lap like the folder might burst into flames. Her lawyer tried to recover. "We're not challenging the end of the marriage, Your Honor. We're just asking the court to consider temporary financial support and shared access to lifestyle assets given the long duration of their marriage." My lawyer didn't miss a beat. She voluntarily removed herself from the marital home, acknowledged that decision in confirmation, and agreed to financial separation. Mr. Sutton simply followed through. There is no ambiguity, only entitlement after regret. The judge looked up for the first time. "Mrs. Sutton, how long were you gone?" Angela cleared her throat. 30 days. "Living with your ex-boyfriend?" She nodded. "Yes, but it wasn't a romantic situation." He raised an eyebrow. "That's irrelevant." Then he tapped the folder with one finger. "What is relevant is this confirmation that you left voluntarily, acknowledged you were acting independently, and understood the consequences." He turned to my lawyer. "All documentation looks clean. There's no indication of abuse, coercion, or misconduct." Then to both of us. "Spousal support is denied. Asset division will proceed as outlined in the standard split. No retroactive claims will be considered based on voluntary absence." Angela looked like she'd just swallowed a mouthful of gravel. No tears, no protest, just that frozen expression people get when they're stuck between anger and realization. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm and whispered something. She didn't move. The judge continued. "As for the house, it remains under Mr. Sutton's name, per title records. No dispute there." Angela's lawyer tried one more Hail Mary. "What about my daughter? She's 19 but still partially dependent." The judge didn't even look up from his notes. "She's an adult. This isn't a custody hearing." And just like that, it was done. Angela didn't say anything as we left the courtroom. She looked smaller than usual. Not in a pathetic way, just like someone who'd bet on a version of reality that didn't show up. Outside, I sat on the bench to wait for my ride. I'd canceled the joint car service a week ago and wasn't about to pay for a trip back to her sister's house. She finally came over and sat on the other end of the bench, left a solid 2 feet of space between us. After a long pause, she said, "You didn't even try to fix this." I looked at her. "You moved in with another man and expected me to hold the door open." She shook her head slowly, more confused than angry. "You really just flipped a switch." "No," I said. "I just realized I was the only one keeping the lights on." She didn't answer, just sat there for another minute like she was still catching up. Eventually, her sister pulled up. Angela stood, said nothing, and left. I stayed seated. The sun felt better that day. Not brighter, just cleaner, like it was shining on the right version of my life for once. I texted Dana on the ride home, told her it was done. She replied, "Finally." My lawyer emailed me later that afternoon. Subject line was, "Final draft, clean exit." That night I grilled a steak for one. Ate it in silence, just me and peace, and honestly, that felt like the win. It took exactly 9 days after court for Angela to try her comeback. No warning, just a knock on the door on a Tuesday. I opened the door and there she was, full attitude, arms crossed like I had some explaining to do. "You changed the locks?" "No hello, no, can we talk?" Just entitlement in a blouse and heels. I leaned on the doorframe. "Yeah, you don't live here." She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might fall out of her head. "Wow, so that's how you're gonna play it? I gave you space, and this is what I come back to?" "You didn't give me space," I said. "You gave my space to your ex." She ignored that. "I need to get a few things. Important stuff I left behind." I shrugged. "I boxed up everything. It's in the garage. You can grab it, but that's it." Angela stepped forward like she was just going to walk past me. "I'm not doing this out here." "You're not doing it in here either." She looked genuinely confused. Like the idea that this wasn't her house anymore had just hit her. Like the court ruling didn't count because in her head, we were just on a break. She scoffed. "So this is what you've become? Cold? Petty? Locking your wife out like she's a stranger?" "Ex-wife," I said. "And strangers usually don't treat me as disposable." Angela huffed. "You think this makes you the bigger person?" I tilted my head. "I'm not trying to be the bigger person. I'm trying to be left alone." She crossed her arms tighter. "I gave you time. I gave you space. I thought you'd cool off." "You thought wrong," I said. She finally broke eye contact and glanced toward the driveway. "Madison's in the car. That makes 2 people who don't live here." Angela snapped her head back at me. "You really don't care, do you? After all the years I gave you?" "You didn't give me years," I said. "We shared time. And then you handed yours to someone else like I'd always be here." "I'm not." She didn't like that answer. She started pacing a little on the porch like she was warming up to a monologue. Do you know what it's like to feel unseen? To live with someone who doesn't listen? I nodded. Yeah, you're describing the last 3 years of our marriage. Her jaw clenched. She was losing the plot, and she knew it. I just thought, she started, but then didn't finish. I waited. Nothing came. You thought I'd be sitting here with the porch light on, hoping you'd come back in? I thought you'd understand, she said, almost whispering. I do understand, I replied. That's why I filed. Angela opened her mouth again, then shut it. She finally looked toward the garage and said, Fine, I'll grab my things. She didn't say anything else, just turned and walked down the steps without another word. A few minutes later, I watched from the window as she popped the trunk and started throwing her boxes in without even checking them. Madison didn't get out of the car. Not once. Angela slammed the trunk closed and got in the passenger seat. They sat there for a minute, then drove off. I stood there for a while longer, staring at the empty street. Then I locked the door. Not just because it was habit, but because it felt like closure. Not the kind people talk about in therapy, the kind that shows up in real life when you realize peace isn't a gift, it's a decision. Later that night, I checked my email. There was one from Madison. No subject, just vibes. You really let mom fall apart and didn't even try to help. You could have fixed it, but you wanted to be right more than you wanted your family. No mention of her cheering on her mom's stay with another man. No mention of all the bills I paid while being told I was controlling. No accountability. I didn't respond, because when someone sees you as a repairman for their mistakes, not a person, they don't deserve an answer. They want to spin the story. I changed the channel.